He stood alone in a frozen Arctic lab, watching instruments whisper a warning no one else could hear. It was 1966, and James Lovelock had just discovered something that would change how we see the entire planet. Earth behaved like a living being. Welcome to Mattermosaic, piecing together the universe, one discovery at a time. Today, we explore the extraordinary journey of James Lovelock, the independent scientist who dared to ask a question both revolutionary and unsettling. What if Earth regulates itself like a living organism? This is the story of the Gaia hypothesis, born in laboratories, shaped in lonely coastlines, and tested across the planet. The story begins in the early 1960s at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. NASA had a simple question that required an impossible answer. How do we detect life on another planet? James Lovelock, then a modest British chemist and inventor, was invited to help design life detection instruments for upcoming Mars missions. He walked the halls of JPL with a quiet intensity. Engineers around him talked about soil samples and lab experiments. But Lovelock asked a different question, a question that did not require landing on Mars at all. He said, "If there is life, the atmosphere will tell us." It was a radical idea. Instead of looking for microbes in Martian soil, Lovelock suggested analyzing the planet's air. Life, he argued, always leaves chemical fingerprints. When the data arrived, Mars looked dead. Earth, by comparison, was chemically impossible. Too much oxygen, too little carbon dioxide, too much methane. Gases that should not coexist unless something was constantly adjusting them. For Lovelock, the atmosphere of Earth looked alive. Returning to England in 1965, Lovelock settled in a small coast-side cottage in Bowerchalk, Wiltshire. Here he built his own lab with his own hands. He had no university backing, no research institution to protect him. What he did have was time, freedom, and a mind unbound by academic politics. In 1966, he invented the electron capture detector, a device so sensitive it could detect chemicals at 1 part per trillion. With it, Lovelock discovered chlorofluorocarbons spreading across the globe. These chemicals, used in hairspray and refrigerators, were drifting into the skies of the Arctic and Antarctica. No one had predicted this. No one believed pollutants could travel so far. But they did. This discovery would later help reveal the ozone hole. It was the first moment Lovelock saw the fragility of Earth's systems. If human chemicals could move freely through the atmosphere, then Earth's atmosphere was more interconnected than anyone imagined. During the same period, Lovelock continued thinking about planetary life detection. He noticed that Earth seemed to maintain stable conditions over geological time. A stable temperature, stable ocean chemistry, and a surprisingly stable climate. Why was Earth so stable while Mars and Venus were not? In one afternoon in the early 1970s, walking near his Dorset cottage with his friend, novelist William Golding, Lovelock described his idea, that Earth behaves like a system capable of regulating itself. Golding paused. Then he said a name that would shape scientific history. He said, "Call it Gaia, Gaia, the ancient Greek goddess of Earth." The name brought the idea to life. Lovelock later partnered with biologist Lynn Margulis, whose research in cell evolution showed that cooperation between organisms is fundamental to life. Together, they argued that life does not simply live on Earth. Life helps Earth live. But the scientific world was not ready. Scientists accused Lovelock of mysticism. Some said the Gaia hypothesis sounded like nature worship. Others claimed it violated Darwinian evolution. Lovelock, who always worked outside institutions, had no academic army to defend him. Yet he kept going. In the 1980s, climate change emerged as a global scientific crisis. Rising carbon dioxide levels, melting ice, unpredictable weather. Suddenly, Lovelock's warnings looked prophetic. Gaia was no longer a poetic metaphor. It was a model for understanding Earth as a complex network of feedback loops, forests regulating carbon, microbes altering the atmosphere, oceans absorbing heat. Then came the Daisy World model, one of Lovelock's most famous contributions. He imagined a planet covered in 2 types of daisies, black daisies that absorb heat, and white daisies that reflect it. Together they kept the planet's temperature stable even as the sun grew brighter. This showed that life and environment could co-regulate, not by intention, but by interaction. It was a simple model with a revolutionary implication. Life helps maintain conditions for life. Around the same time, atmospheric scientists confirmed major Earth feedback systems: the carbon cycle, cloud albedo, ocean circulation, nitrogen fixation. Pieces of Gaia were becoming scientific reality. Meanwhile, Lovelock grew more urgent. He warned of climate tipping points. He pointed to melting permafrost, collapsing ecosystems, and weakening ocean currents. He spoke of a future where Earth may not be able to regulate itself if too many systems break at once. Gaia was getting sick, and humanity was causing the fever. By the 2000s, Lovelock had become a global scientific icon, though still controversial. He continued working from his home laboratory, now on the coast of Devon. There he wrote books predicting potential climate catastrophes and urging governments to act. Then came a surprising shift. In his later years, Lovelock became cautiously optimistic. He believed human technology could help restore planetary balance, renewable energy, reforestation, carbon capture, smarter agriculture. Gaia, he said, is resilient if we stop harming her. James Lovelock died on July 26, 2022, on his 103rd birthday. A scientist who lived through the entire modern environmental era. His work shaped climate science, atmospheric chemistry, and Earth system models. The Gaia hypothesis, once ridiculed, is now fundamental to Earth system science and planetary ecology. His legacy continues in every field studying how Earth works as a whole. Sometimes it takes an outsider to see the world clearly. Lovelock showed that Earth is not a passive rock in space, but a dynamic, breathing network of life. We are not separate from the planet. We are part of the system that keeps it alive. This is Mattermosaic, piecing together the universe one discovery at a time. If this story inspired you, leave a like, share it, and tell us your thoughts below. Subscribe to join our growing journey into the science that shapes our world.